We got a showdown at BC Place, episode 82 of LAFC Plus as we get ready for that big playoff match coming up on Saturday. Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us. He is Mario Ruiz. I'm Dave Denholm. Mario, how you doing, buddy? Good to talk to you.
Not much going on in the MLS world, huh? Not much going on with LAFC here to talk about, but we'll try to get through this podcast, right? No, oh my gosh, exciting day today, right? A lot of stuff came out today. We had a media day today. News came out today. A lot of things to look forward to. Of course, we're looking forward to the showdown at BC Place this Saturday, LAFC versus Vancouver, Heung-Min versus Thomas Müller, which is the big headline there. And I don't think it's going to disappoint, Dave. I can't wait.
Well, Mario's excited if you're watching on YouTube, he gets the hands going. If Mario starts talking with his hands,
oh my gosh,
look out. He's so
losing
nervous. I see that all the time in the booth sometimes. So that's a key. If you're watching on YouTube, thank you for joining us wherever you get your podcasts, wherever that may be. If you want to go to the YouTube page, you can leave comments there. We read those. We appreciate all your feedback, all your support. Subscribe, rate, review on the LAFC YouTube page. That's where you can get LAFC Plus among a lot of other great shows and great videos on YouTube as well.
And hit us up on IG and on social as well, because we pump out a lot of content there on IG and on Twitter and all that stuff. So my social media is at I am Mario Ruiz. I'm going to be posting a lot of stuff from practice today, interviews and a little behind the scene footage of the guys just working out and having a lot of fun after training today. So, and Dave have your social media as well.
Yeah, on IG it's Dave_Denholm, spelled like my name, and then on Twitter, going back many, many years, it's at Talk Soccer. So that's where you can find me there. There is some breaking news in MLS, if you will. Now, we didn't even get a chance to talk last week about the big news in MLS, of course, changing the schedule in terms of going from basically a spring to a winter kind of, just a yearly calendar thing to the fall spring kind of schedule. That's going to happen.
Massive.
After an abbreviated season to begin 2027, they'll begin that after a break in the summer, and we'll go to a fall-winter schedule for MLS, kind of coordinating more with Europe and most of the world, frankly. So that was huge news. And obviously, you've heard people talk about that ad nauseum if you're an MLS fan. But then they release a schedule as we do the show on Thursday. We just released the schedule not long ago for the 2026 season. Now, some people, Mario, immediately, as we know on social media, there are a few people out there who only are happy when they're complaining. So they immediately were like, why are they releasing it during the playoffs and so early? And well, this is a special year coming up because of the World Cup. I'm pretty sure they are doing it only because the World Cup is coming up, and they want to make sure people can make their plans, let everybody know we're not going to be playing games in MLS during the World Cup, which is a big part of that 2026 schedule. We were wondering about that. So that's a key. And, oh, by the way, a massive opener right out of the chute for 2026. Not to get too far ahead of ourselves. We'll talk more about this in the offseason. We got bigger fish to fry. But, oh, by the way, that opener on February 21st, you're going to want to find your way to the LA Coliseum, Mario.
Is the Coliseum big enough for all those fans that are coming out to see Heung-Min and Lionel Messi go at it?
No.
I mean, LAFC versus Inter Miami. It's going to be an amazing season opener, and I think they made the right decision. They made the right decision as far as picking what's going to be the season opener, because you can't miss with Heung-Min against Messi. And I was thinking it might even be one of these teams might be the defending champions of the MLS Cup, right?
Because I was just about to say it might be a rematch. Let's hope it's a rematch
as well.
Cup, frankly. Yeah, I mean, that's fine by me.
So true. Yeah,
I agree. That's a good call on your part, though. And two other big games, of course, the Galaxy. Classico, obviously the Derby, the LA Derby. The first one will be at the Galaxy on July 17th, which is the first game back from the World Cup break, which is going to be very interesting, of course. I think they planned that on purpose. And then it'll be back at BMO on October 25th, kind of close to the end of the season. Normally that's after the regular season has ended, but because they're taking that break, Mario, during the World Cup, they don't end a regular season next year till November 7th. So that's going to be a little bit different. Of course, the playoffs will stretch a little farther, but we don't mind because there is a World Cup coming. Oh, by the way. And along those lines,
go ahead.
No.
I was going to say one other thing about the schedule is decision day. I always like to look at decision day, and this season in 2025, LAFC played on the road for decision day, and for 2026, LAFC will be playing on the road again. But this time it's going to be against an even tougher opponent. One of the bitter rivals of LAFC, let's face it, the Seattle Sounders. So that's going to be a very, very tough decision day. I guarantee is going to be a lot on the line that day, and it's going to be on the road against a very tough Seattle Sounders team. So that's going to be something to look forward to.
Let's hope we wrapped up the supporter shield a couple weeks before then. That'll be fine. And we can just, get ready for the postseason. LAFC in Vancouver had a lot of players in the international window, of course. And as we get ready for this big match at BC Place, we'll talk about that in a moment. We do want to shout out the international window was a big success for the United States, including Sebastian Berhalter for Vancouver, teaming up with our Timothy Tillman, who was a late addition to the U.S. roster due to injury. But Timmy just went out there and balled in that game earlier this week against Uruguay, a game that the United States just destroyed Uruguay 5-1. And remember, we might have talked about this then. Remember what Marcelo Bielsa, the now maligned coach of Uruguay, reportedly told our old buddy Kiki Oliveira, remember? Saying, well, you got to get out of MLS, right? Allegedly.
Yes,
this is
I
reportedly what he said. It makes people, maybe makes players lazy or whatever. You got to get out. Interesting, because several MLS players were part of that starting 11 that utterly destroyed his Uruguay team. 5-1. It was 4-1 at half. Just domination. And much of that damage was done by MLS players, including Sebastian Berhalter, who sadly had a great game. Whatever. In the U.S. context, I'm happy, but of course he plays for Vancouver, so we don't care about him right now. And Timothy Tillman. But Mario, here's the question I want to ask, because it was hitting me as the game was played. And I saw how those two were running through the midfield, and then Tillman was up front. They were just dominating together, not just those two. But then how do you – that's got to be weird when you're about to do battle for it's life or death in terms of your playoff life, not literally, but you're going home, whoever loses, right, on Saturday at BC Place. Somebody's going home and somebody's advancing, and yet just days before you have to go out there and play as teammates. It's such a weird dynamic for those two, and I know this happens in international football. I get that, but it's weird because, you're supposed to be celebrating all these goals, and Berhalter scored the first goal. Tillman with a crunching tackle that set up a goal for the U.S., just a brilliant play. And I thought Timmy was amazing in that game. I really did. I thought he played excellent. He knows how to siphon a team. When he presses up front, he knows how he wants that team to play out of the back and where he wants them to go. And he commits to that. And he was excellent against Uruguay's back line. But how do you celebrate, Mark? You know what I mean? I know you're professionals. I get it. But, isn't that weird?
Yeah, you said it right there. Timmy Tillman and Sebastian Berhalter are just going to have to show how true of a professional they are this Saturday night in Vancouver, because they did play their butts off for the U.S. men's national team, which was awesome to see. And they were key players in that win against Uruguay. But now it's just time to flip that switch, because they got to knock each other out. As much as they were battling in that U.S. men's national team game against Uruguay, they're going to be battling just as much or even harder in this match in Vancouver to try and knock each other out of the playoffs. And they're ultimate competitors. So you're going to see that. You're going to see that for sure. Tillman going at him, Berhalter going at him, and one of them is going to go home. So why, they have no choice but to go at it with each other.
Such a weird kind of 96 hours or whatever, 4 or 5 days there. And I'm sure the buildup, you're practicing with someone like that. I know this happens a lot in, world football, but it's so weird with a
That's why I love club and country. We talked about it last week on the podcast. Club and country is something that's so unique to mostly football, world football, soccer, of course, where other sports don't really get it. But club and country is something that's so cool that brings up situations just like this, where you're teammates with the guy, and then all of a sudden you go to your club and you guys are battling with each other. I love that.
One thing I did not like to see actually was Berhalter got just absolutely destroyed on a horrific red card tackle. Why is the name escaping me? All of a sudden I'm blanking. for Uruguay. Straight red,
Yeah.
terrible tackle. Really couldn't argue much about it. And Berhalter was down for a while. I did not like to see that. I am not one of those guys who wants to see injuries. I want a full strength Vancouver team. Whoever's available right now, of course. I want them to be completely healthy because I want to destroy their best team. That's the bottom line. I want LAFC to go up there and smack the best 11 that Vancouver has. No excuses. Glad that Sebastian Berhalter wasn't hurt on that play. Of course, we don't want any injuries for anybody ever, but really glad to see he didn't really suffer what appeared to be any kind of major injury or any injury really on that horrific red. But we'll put a bow on that. Great performance for the U.S. in the window. Mexico, not as much, not so fantastic. It was good to see for the U.S.
Oh, I was in Mexico when Mexico was playing, and it was not a pretty sight. I mean, Mexico was getting booed. Yeah. It was not good in their own country. A lot of the players were saying this is why, they play outside of their country for home matches. This is why they do that because it's so sad. But we'll see what happens in the World Cup when you're hosting, and hopefully they play a little bit better so that doesn't happen again. But another game that we were watching was Gabon, of course. We were watching Denis Bouanga and Gabon as they try to keep their World Cup hopes alive, but that had to come to an end. But it's kind of sad because Denis is one of those players where you want to see him on that big stage. You want to see him in the World Cup. And I know I was rooting for him. I know you were rooting for him, but they had a good run, that's for sure.
They did. Got farther than I really thought they would when we began World Cup qualifying a while ago, years ago now. They did really well. Just came up a little shy. But what I love about Denis, I would have much rather he go, of course, and play during that tournament. Now it's a little bit of a break, and Denis Bouanga is a guy who almost refuses to take breaks. So he will be forced to take a little break. Sadly, he won't be at the World Cup, but in a way, he'll get some rest. There's a little bit of a silver lining there. Of course, we would have much rather had him in the Cup, but he'll be forced to take a little break, which is hard to get Denis to do. As we all know, he's just an absolute beast. So
I talked to him today at training. He was locked in. He's dialed in for this game, and it was kind of cool to talk to him because I told him we were rooting for you, and he was in positive spirits after that. And he said it was a good experience, and
sure.
Maybe for the next one, there was a good experience. They learned from it, and they're better from it. But he was already focused on Vancouver, and I was talking to him about the headline of Son versus Müller, and that's getting a lot of attention, and those are the superstars. And I said, but this is your team too. Like, you're a star of this team too. He's like, no. He's like, it's okay for those guys to get all the attention. He's like, I might be getting a little bit more space because Son is on the attack with me alongside of me, but I'm fine. He's like, I'm fine with Müller and Son getting all the attention in the promo.
Well, look, here's the way you could put this, in my opinion. Denis Bouanga is the greatest kind of unknown signing. And by that, I mean, of course, John Thornton knew who he was, the staff know. Of course, they go out and scout everybody. But the average fan didn't know who Denis Bouanga was, right, when he signed from Saint Etienne. The average fan did not know that. I'm sorry. Some people might, but everybody knows who, obviously, the big, Son Heung-Min, Lionel Messi, Thomas Müller, like all these signings that are great. And of course, those are huge signings. Denis Bouanga is the best unknown signing in MLS history. He has become a superstar in this league to the highest, and that doesn't happen all that often to get like an unknown, look, they can turn into great players, but there's levels to this. Denis Bouanga is at the highest, level in MLS. Like, that is just, everybody knew who Carlos Vela was. Of course, it was a great signing, but we all knew that he was going to be a great signing. We knew who he was. Mm-hmm. We did not know the player that Denis Bouanga was going to be, and he's just the greatest at that, in terms of that kind of category, the greatest signing in MLS history that way, and he is a superstar. You're 100% right. And he's going to shine.
Yeah, he's going to shine. That's the thing. He's going to shine even with a star like Son Heung-Min right there right beside him in the attack. He's been the one that's been killing Vancouver the past couple of years, and he's the one that's been scoring 4 times against them in the playoffs. Eliminated them from the last 2 postseasons. Bouanga's the one that's been, making all the goals and killing it and turning up his level when the postseason comes around. He's one of those players that just turns it up when it's the big games. And now that he has Son Heung-Min right there, well, that's a two-headed monster right here that LAFC have. And I know they have a lot of confidence. I talked to Steve today as well, Steve Cherundolo, and he was talking about, he knows that Vancouver's good. He knows they have Müller over there. They know how good they are, but they also know how good LAFC is too. So very confident with what they got.
Well, LAFC are, of course, preparing for this Western Conference Semifinal against Vancouver, coming up on the road at BC Place. 50,000+ expected there. Sellout, I think, for BC Place. Over 53,000 is, I think, at last check.
Yep.
The Whitecaps have been banged up. This break has certainly helped them. I think Tristan Blackman will likely be back. I heard some video of him talking to the media. Looks like he's ready to go, but they're still missing a few players. Brian White will be back. Ryan Gauld likely will be. These guys might be back for this match after this long break. So we're going to see a very strong Vancouver side. There's no doubt about that, Mario. This team deserves to be where they're at. We know how good they are. But I think this really just comes down to whoever imposes their style of play, whoever imposes their will win this. In other words, Vancouver, doesn't really matter who they play. They want 65% of the ball minimum, and they want to just keep jamming it down your throat. They want to get you pinned back in the final third, and they know they're going to find a way to break you down. Right? Or at least they think they know that they're going to find a way to break you down. And most of the time that's worked this year. Whether it's a set piece, then after they draw a foul, you cannot foul this team with Sebastian Berhalter anywhere near the 18. Quite frankly, 40 yards and in, you can't foul this side. Brian White, obviously, is a great player. Ryan Gauld, who hasn't really even done much this season because of injuries, is a great player. And then you add Thomas Müller in there. But whoever imposes their will, if LAFC can counterattack in the ways they want to counterattack where they're really dangerous. We're not talking being all buried in the 18, right? Like you can't have Denis Bouanga and Son Heung-Min defending around the top of the area. Now, they may have to sometimes, but that's a recipe for disaster because you can't get out on the break then, in my humble opinion. You need to be able to turn Vancouver over 40 yards from Hugo Lloris, 35 yards from Hugo Lloris. Then you got space, of course. Then you can take advantage of that. Like, this is a battle of wills, Mario, because these two teams are just too good. There's not going to be a lot between them. There's not much difference.
I heard something that I really, really liked today from Steve Cherundolo. I was talking to him, and he told me that, because I asked him, I said, you always talk about the next 45 minutes. We're concentrated on winning the next 45 minutes.
Sure.
And I asked him, what do you want to see in these next 45 minutes? What do you want to see? He said, you know what? I changed it up. I changed it up to the next 15 minutes.
Oh, yeah.
And I said, good. He's like, we have to match their intensity and their will in those first 15 minutes of the game. And he said, if we do that, that'll change the first 45 minutes, which he feels good about. So I like that. I like the fact that LAFC are going to come out on fire and matching that energy and trying to just quiet the crowd at BC Place early on as soon as possible. I like that.
And here's the thing, too. If LAFC get an early goal, now look, this is a 90-minute plus game, right? Maybe penalties, hopefully not. But if LAFC get an early goal, that's not going to stop Vancouver, right? They're just going to keep coming at you.
Of course.
Yeah. If Vancouver get an early goal, that's when it becomes trickier because I think then they'll start to want to hit you on the counterattack, force you to come out. Now, LAFC can certainly do that, but an early goal changes so much. But I'll tell you, I think if LAFC can get off to a fast start, like Steve wants here, and you come out and punch him in the nose, I'm saying it right now. Look, I believe LAFC can win this game like 4 or 5-0. I know that seems nuts because after what I just said.
That's pretty nuts, Davey. I'm not going to lie.
I know.
Nuts, but
I
know you got your reasons.
I have my reasons because there's going to be, look, Vancouver can attack, 5, maybe do 5-1, 5, whatever. Maybe they'll get something. I'm talking LAFC could, if things go the way I think they might go, they could blow this team out. And I don't. Now, again, Vancouver could do that to LAFC too. Make no mistake. I'm talking about if you can impose your will, this game could actually be crazy. Now, I think these two teams are both so good. This also may be a classic, insane 3-2 game. Like there's, I really think LAFC, the more I look at them, I know, of course, everybody watching this is, most of you are LAFC fans, but even some who aren't, part of the plus of LAFC Plus are probably like, oh, you're nuts. You're just LAFC, man. Mario, we can win this whole stinking thing.
Oh, yeah.
The more I've studied this, during this break, this team is, I think they're poised, man. I really do.
You and I said the winner of this match, Vancouver LAFC, goes on to the MLS Cup final. Today, Denis Bouanga said the winner of this match wins the MLS Cup. So he's kind of agreeing with what you just said right there. Now, I believe that Vancouver has a lot of pressure on them. Now, if LAFC get that first goal, then that just adds to the pressure. And then we're talking about what you're talking about, where LAFC can start bagging a few more goals after that, and then it might get out of hand. So I see that as well. But as good as a year as Vancouver has had, everything going for them, it's just like, this kind of feels like it's like their Cinderella story, this Cinderella season, but it could all come to just a screeching halt if LAFC take them out again for the third straight time. That would just be nuts. I mean, because Vancouver hasn't had the answer for LAFC in the playoffs. And we all know that the playoffs is not the regular season. The playoffs is different. And you have to be able to manage the game with the head coach and manage the game with the players and your stars that are on the field. And that's what LAFC has been able to do. LAFC has some big stars now and a real leader in Hugo Lloris and Son Heung-Min and Denis Bouanga. So, it's there for the taking for LAFC for the third straight time in the playoffs to knock out Vancouver.
From your lips, brother. I believe it's going to happen. I really do. But one thing also is the BC plays turf. It's not a huge issue. I'm not going to focus on it too much. But one thing it does when you play on turf and your opponent doesn't, like in other words, the turf in BC, you can kick the ball around. A lot of times it doesn't really matter in terms of pinging the ball around in midfield, working it through. What happens is sometimes it's more difficult to clear a ball in that craziness inside the area when it's turf, right? Because, we see a lot more kind of cheap goals, or not cheap even, but like kind of those ugly goals where the ball bounces just a bit more on a turf, like banging around in there, and it bounces up for somebody and you just can't get a foot on, there's just more of that kind of garbage. Now that's for both
there's
teams.
A few spots on the turf that are different than others. Like it doesn't play like true grass as good as it is.
It can affect the home team, but they're used to it is my point. We have got to be rock solid on that because, you get those set pieces. You put a ball in there and it's kind of hard to clear because it bounces, it's just ugly. I mean, it's one of the many reasons I think turf should be outlawed in, world football. I really do, but it's the world we live in. It's not a terrible turf in terms of banging the ball around the pitch, and kick, and it's not bad that way. But every turf is like that when you're trying to clear these little things inside the area, and keep an ear out for that. If you're hearing me, talk about that, you probably will on Saturday's radio call. You'll hear it on 710 ESPN, by the way, and ESPN, the LA app. But that's one thing that concerns me too. Just that little home field advantage that way. Kind of knowing how to play those, little bounces on the turf that can cause problems.
Talking about BC Place, I've been reading and seeing a lot of videos of Commissioner Don Garber flying into Vancouver and speaking with some city officials there, saying that Vancouver, it's not sustainable to be playing there at BC Place. They just don't get enough revenue. Like this is a big story for me. I think it's a pretty big deal. Like, could it be distracting, or is it motivating for these guys? This is a pretty big situation that they're talking about here. It's like this team is like on the verge of being sold or it's a pretty big thing.
Yeah, but that's been hanging over their head. I mean, it's a good question. I don't think it's going to affect the players or the coach. Maybe the fans are more into worried about that stuff or thinking about that. Even the front office, I don't think the players.
It's got to be a weird situation, though, even for the fan base, for the players. I can't imagine having that situation over the heads of fans here in LAFC, players here at LAFC, coaches. That's just an odd situation.
Yes. But think about this too. Vancouver's been for sale, right? That's publicly, they're looking to sell the team. and yet they go out and get Thomas Müller. I mean, that's one of the many reasons I didn't think that was possible.
How did that happen?
You know, like this. Yeah, I mean, like you're
how are they having such a good season?
Block. Yeah, like, and yet your current owners go out and do that.
Yeah,
like, got to give them credit. You know, I mean, with all due respect, I mean, like, I was not expecting that. You know, in any way, shape, or form. You know, to even entertain that, let alone get it done. You know, like I would have been shocked to even hear a rumor about it. I would have been like, no way. That's, you know, like, but once the Müller stuff kind of just broke, it's like, holy cow, like, was not seeing that coming out of this, you know, a team that's essentially up for
him to hit the ground running too, you know, Thomas Müller to hit the ground running right away. I wasn't really seeing that, just like Heung-Min hit the ground running right away. Both of these guys have lifted their team since their arrivals here at MLS. Son, he has 10 goals, 4 assists in just 12 matches. And, you know, they're on their way to a duel, a matchup here face to face where everybody is you know, excited for this game. And can you imagine, though, next season, 2026, a full season with these guys in the league, a full season with Heung-Min in the black and gold, and how that's going to go? That is going to be amazing. And with the core that LAFC are bringing back, it's going to be a great 2026. Looking forward to that. But still, all eyes, all focus on this one here, this semifinal against Vancouver at BC Place.
Yeah, you know, and part of imposing your will on a team like or a game like this is, as you know, you referenced with Steve, getting settled in, being ready. Because, and I know this sounds weird, it's the playoffs, it's a big game, right? But this is one step. We can't look ahead.
Yep.
But like we got a long way to go here. You got to be ready just to be professional. You know, you can't get too hyped. You still got to, you know, you got to go out and beat a lot of good teams along the way, you know, if you want to win MLS Cup. That's just a fact. Yeah, it's going to be an amazing game. Make no mistake. You better be ready to go, but you also can't get too overhyped about this, right? No late tackles. Don't be getting any stupid yellows or, heaven forbid, some awful red card or, you know, to change the – you got to be, you know, focused and fired up, but you also, you know, be professional here because – this is still one step here. Let's get it done. Let's be professional about it. But, you know, don't let overhyping this throw you off your game either. It's a team who can kind of settle in like that and play their regular game as quickly as possible because they're both too good. Like, they deserve to be here. Whoever plays their best game, their game, is going to win. You got to get to that quickly. You can't be too hyped, you know, going too nuts about it. There's plenty of room for that. You're going to need that emotion, but you just have to settle in. That's a big part of it because I think these teams are too good.
It is step by step. Of course, we know that game by game, and this is a step that Vancouver have not taken the next step to the Western Conference Final. They've never been to the Western Conference Final. As good as these guys are, they feel like they can get there. They have the squad. They have a good team. And I know that for the Vancouver fans that tune into this podcast, they would love to shut me up too, because I was the one that was not giving them any credit all season long, especially at the beginning when they were doing so well in multiple tournaments and Conquer Champions and MLS. They were doing so well, and I was not giving them the credit. So they would love nothing more to shut me up and get past LAFC in this match.
I hear you, brother. Well, look, it is going to be awesome. I cannot wait. It's going to be miserable during the 90-plus minutes. You know, like it's just so awful. It's great, but awful at the same time because it's so tense. I can't wait to call it. No doubt about that.
You know, one guy that has been past this step, made it all the way to the MLS Cup final a couple times, won it twice already, Marky Delgado. He's had a great season for LAFC, been a key player with LAFC. He has all that experience. He is locked in. He's dialed in. I talked to him today. I saw him working out after his training by himself, just headphones on, just like you just see him, how he's just so concentrated and just ready to go. And in my chat with him, I asked him a few questions, and you'll also notice that he's a true professional. He's a true professional every step of the way. There's certain things that got to get done before you get to game time.
Yeah.
And here's my chat with him today, Marky Delgado, right here from the Performance Center at LAFC. You've had a solid first season here with LAFC. Right. You've won the MLS Cup, though, twice already. Galaxy, Toronto. but now you're going personally for your back-to-back, right? You're going for the repeat personally. Does that storyline kind of motivate you? Because I know a lot of athletes pick out anything just for that motivation.
Yeah, I mean, I don't really like to look at motivation as something that drives me, because motivation, comes and goes, right? It's just really more of like just being really disciplined, staying locked in, doing the right things that'll have me ready, have me prepared, entering the game in the right mind state, the body's feeling well, and just ready for battle, right? So that's kind of what I kind of live my career off of, right? So if I can be ready mentally and physically, then I'm ready to give my all on the pitch, and whatever happens on the pitch happens on the pitch. But yeah, going for a back-to-back is definitely what people seem to talk about and bring up to me quite often. So I mean, it's there. It'd be nice for sure, but that's not something that's motivating for me. I've always been a professional throughout my whole career, and I think that's what's given me so much success, and giving me 2 MLS Cups.
Now, it has been about 3 weeks since the last game, a big 3-week gap here in the playoffs. How's training been? I know there's been a couple of days of rest, and then I know there's that time where you guys got to ramp it up and get ready and get locked in.
Yeah, it's been tough, man. I mean, you have guys missing on national team duty. Just trying to motivate each other. I guess not motivate, but push each other. Really try to get the most you can out of the session every day, even though there's not a game on the weekend coming up. That break just seems to drag on, right? So even, you can't push every day to the max. You got to be smart, take care of yourself as well, but you try to get the most out of every day. But yeah, it's been nice having the guys come back from international duty. They've really sparked the energy, seeing their faces again, seeing their faces on the field again, their quality as well. It really brings smiles to guys' faces, brings a lot of energy back on the field, and just it brings that feeling like, okay, we got a game around the corner. Let's start wrapping this up, and let's really gel everything together, and let's get ready for this matchup coming up.
Now, the MLS Cup playoffs are an intense atmosphere. So I'm asking players, I'm asking Steve, I'm asking Denis, what is something you eat, a snack, or something you listen to, or something you do, like a routine to kind of keep you loose and keep you calm before kickoff?
I just stay busy. I'm already a guy that's not really on social media that much. I'll post and maybe be interactive with fans once in a while, but I stay off that stuff. There's going to be posts, there's going to be people talking, you're going to see it everywhere. That might get people nervous and antsy, getting guys' heads. I'm off that. So I got a clear mind, stay busy, get a coffee with the boys in the morning, the boys' coffee trip in the morning, good vibes, bond with the guys, laugh, go back to the hotel. We always do a team walk. If the weather lets us. And then I'm just kind of busy. Like, if there's a pool, I'll be in the pool. If there's a gym, I'll be doing some movements in the gym. Stay out of the room. That kills a lot of time, to be honest. Next thing you know, it's nap time. So you're taking a nap. Next thing you know, pregame meal, video, and then we're off to the game. So I just kind of kill time in any way I can. So
sound like a real troll, like a real pro, like a real champion. That's what it sounds like right there.
I guess so, man. I just found a routine that works for me, Yeah.
Now we know you guys have your superstar, son Heung-Min. They have their superstar as well, and Thomas Müller, and that's been the headlines as far as leading up into this match. But how has Thomas Müller, been able to make a good team even better?
I mean, a player with his profile, you can make any team better, right? They were already a good team, and then adding him even helps them even more, right? So good for them. But we got Sonny as well, right? You see the difference Sonny has made for us since he joined the team. guys to lethal in front of goal, whether he's scoring or dishing out, assists to guys or motivating the group. We're not too worried about them too much. We're worried about us, what the game plan is, how can we be effective in the best way possible, and then just executing better, right? Limiting our mistakes, making smart decisions in the right moments, and just trying to put them on the back foot as much as possible. So yeah, it's going to be tough. They're at home. They're going to have a big crowd, and they're going to have the home field advantage and the energy of their fans. So if we can control our emotions, control the crowd, do things in a very professional way, I think we'll have a lot of success.
When you look at this LAFC locker room and you look around at all your teammates that you guys have, what is it about this group that you say, you know what, we can take out anybody in this league?
Yeah, I mean, the group of guys that we have here in the locker room just bond really well. We got each other's backs. Like I've mentioned it before, our season's kind of been up and down, but I think we found the right moment where we start to turn things around and really gel together and connect with one another on and off the pitch. It just feels right. The moment feels right. The group of guys we have all around from front to back are ready and up for the moment. Yeah.
Now, Steve, your coach, Steve Cherundolo, he often talks about the next 45 minutes, winning the next 45 minutes.
Yeah.
What do you want to see from your guys, your group, in the next 45 minutes?
Yeah, energetic, confidence, really standing up and controlling your part of the field, a lot of talking. Don't let anything shake us, right? And just go get after it. Win your part of the duels, win your battle, and help the next man. Yeah.
Now we're all looking forward to the semifinal, of course, but something else to look forward to in 2026. The season schedule just came out. Okay. LAFC against Inter Miami in the season opener. Messi at the Coliseum. How exciting is that going to be?
It's good, man. It's going to be a big game at the Coliseum. I played the games at the Rose Bowl. Those are big. Now we're going to the Coliseum, which is going to be great. These things, don't happen to everyone, but I've been fortunate enough to have the experience now at the Rose Bowl and now going to the Coliseum. 2 home openers now with my previous club playing against Miami. Now at the Coliseum against Miami, it's going to be great. But, right now that's on the back burner. We're focused on Vancouver and this year and hopefully lifting that trophy.
Good luck in this one. Let's keep this going, Marky. Thanks for the time.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
There you go. You see Marky, so confident, but so cold too. It was freezing today at training facility. His teeth were clacking and shaking, but we got through the interview.
Yeah, it's supposed to be raining in Vancouver for,
yes.
Obviously BC Place has the roof, but retractable
cold,
roof there. But yeah, going to be kind of not the greatest weather there either. Well, I mean, look, it's late November here. What are we going to do? So that's just what to be expected. Maybe that walk he talks about. They always go on that walk together on the road. Usually it's been good weather throughout the summer for that, but we'll see how they bundle up for that walk to get ready. I'm now nervous. Okay, I wasn't that nervous in my preparation. Still working on that a little bit. Now doing this show with you, I'm getting a little more nervous because it's more real now. Hearing Mark talk about that game coming up, we're going to be, they're traveling. It's like, okay, now I'm starting to get the playoff nerves back again. This is for real here. It's going to be.
You know what? I was nervous before. Like I was nervous yesterday and all week before that. But now after talking to the guys, talking to Steve on this podcast, I'm the opposite. I feel more confident.
Good. I like to hear that. Well, look, we do our Around the Rest of MLS segment. Obviously, we talked about the schedule change, for 2027, into 2028. It's going to be very interesting. We'll talk more about that in the future. We had our conference semis, the other matches in these conference semis. We've talked about those last week. Any changes in your mind, Mario? I think we were pretty much simpatico on who we thought was going to be winning these series. You got any changes to that? You really feel it's still the same that we... Yeah, I
No
agree.
changes, just FC Cincinnati hosting Inter Miami. That is an epic match, just like
Sure.
LAFC going up to Vancouver. I think those two matches are the big ones to really focus on, and I think most soccer fans are really going to enjoy those two, because I think out of those four teams and those two matches there, I think one of those is going to raise the MLS Cup final.
Oh, I love it.
MLS Cup trophy.
I'd love to hear that. So LAFC, Vancouver, Western Conference Semi in British Columbia, Saturday, that's November 22nd, 6 p.m. Pacific for the pregame on 710 ESPN and the ESPN LA app. Kickoff a little after 6:40 Pacific time. Can't wait to call that, Mario. I know you're pumped. We're going to have a great time. It's going to be a great match. We're going to bring it to you on the ESPN LA app and 710 ESPN. Can't wait to do that, Mario. Excellent stuff here. Episode 82 in the books. Take us out of here, brother. Good stuff.
Yeah, like you said, it's going to be on 710 ESPN on the radio. Make sure you tune in. And if you're not in the car, don't have a radio around, ESPN LA app. Download the ESPN LA app. Put it on your phone. It is so easy to use, and it's crystal clear digital audio. You're going to love listening to Dave Denholm.
You can listen to it from anywhere. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, anyone just download the ESPN LA app. Not ESPN A app. No, the ESPN LA app.
Yeah.
LAFC has a tile on there, play-by-play tile. You click that button, boom, you got the whole LAFC game there. We got a big pregame show ready to go. It's almost an hour-long pregame show for this Saturday's game, and we got a bunch of interviews, exclusive stuff there, so make sure you check us out on that broadcast. This has been LAFC Plus. That's Dave Denholm. I'm Mario Ruiz. We'll catch you on the next one. Peace.